This project was released as part of the project InclusiveGameLab, which was funded by the German Ministry of Research, Technology and Space, and realized by the University of Applied Sciences Cologne and the Department for Youth Media Culture. In our previous talks, we already introduced you to a number of different ways to make your games more accessible. But even if you do extensive research and assign resources across departments to improve accessibility, there are always limits to what you can achieve if you don't have lived experience. Therefore, it's important to involve people with disabilities at some point in the development process, ideally right from the start. There's a slogan often used by accessibility advocates, "Nothing about us without us." Too often, people with disabilities are talked about or catered to, but not actively involved in decision-making. This means they are not allowed to have a say in decisions that sometimes have a heavy impact on their lives. Involving experts with disability is not only the right thing to do on a moral level, your project will also benefit from their knowledge, and the end result will likely be much better. It's important to note, though, that no single person or even one group of people can speak for an entire demographic, and this is especially true for a target group as diverse as gamers with disabilities. So keep in mind that it's generally better to involve as many different people as possible in design processes and play tests. And if that exceeds the scope of what your team can afford, just keep in mind that while every bit of advice is valuable, it doesn't mean there won't be any oversights or even mistakes. That being said, now we'll introduce you to some ways you can involve experts in the development of your project. Broadly speaking, there are two types of consultants: subject matter experts and accessibility specialists. Subject matter experts are people with lived experience who offer practical, real-world insights into playing with disabilities, primarily identifying specific barriers. Essentially, this means you will receive authentic user feedback when working with these experts, and no formal training is required for this line of work. Accessibility specialists, on the other hand, offer broader accessibility knowledge and cross-disability perspectives. They are familiar with standards and guidelines and provide systemic design solutions as well as potentially community engagement. Many accessibility specialists start out as subject matter experts. While subject matter experts offer first-hand insight, accessibility specialists analyze, implement, and guide accessibility best practices. Game design consultancy. While this is the most expensive option, it's also the approach that will by far yield the best results. If you involve one or even several accessibility experts from the beginning, you will be able to create a game that is inclusive by design and avoid common mistakes which are expensive and time-consuming to fix at later stage. Quality assurance and play tests. Another option is to hire consultants to give you feedback on iterations of your game throughout the game development process. While it's particularly important in the later stages to ensure that your game is actually playable for the intended audience, you should consider doing regular play tests as early as possible, because, again, the longer you wait, the more difficult and expensive it will be to address issues. Sensitivity readings. Sensitivity readings are particularly useful when it comes to disability representation in games. If you're considering to have NPCs or even a playable character with disabilities, these experts will give you valuable feedback to increase the quality of your writing as well as game design and to avoid harmful stereotypes. Depending on the kind of the service you're looking for and the time needed, the prices can range from 100 to several thousand euros. It's a good idea to compare prices and the services provided because there are a lot of different options for this kind of consultancy nowadays. And finally, there's streamer and community feedback. If your team's resources are too limited to hire paid consultants, you can also involve streamers and players with disabilities. Once you have a playable prototype or an alpha version of your game, you can share it in social media and ask for feedback. In addition, consider reaching out to streamers with disabilities. A huge advantage of this approach is that you'll be able to watch footage of someone playing your game and observe live reactions. While the information you gather through this approach won't be as useful as the results of dedicated playtests, you can still learn a lot this way. However, we kindly ask you to only use these approaches if you actually have no budget whatsoever for consultancy. Because while players and experts with disabilities will often agree to help you pro bono simply because they care about accessibility, it's important not to take advantage of that. Now, to give you a better idea of what these processes can look like, we've brought you a few clips with statements from accessibility consultants. Some of the videos are copyrighted, therefore please click on the links in the description text to watch the videos. Unfortunately, you'll likely encounter consultants who have entered the accessibility market to make quick money, but don't have the expertise to actually help you develop long-term strategies for inclusion. Here are some red flags you should watch out for. It's true that there are simple ways to make games a bit more accessible. However, if you're looking to make your products inclusive by design, you will have to invest time, energy, and most importantly, you will have to do it in the long run. So if someone makes these promises, that's not a good sign. Closely tied to this point is the next one. Usually, professional consultants offer a first meeting that's either free of charge or requires you to pay a modest fee. If the consultant listens closely, asks specific questions about your project and goals, and clearly shows that they will adapt their services to your needs, that's a really good sign. By contrast, if they try to sell you a product and don't really seem to care about what the specifics of your work are, that's another red flag. Contracts should specify the type of service, the fee, and other important details. If the contract is strangely unspecific in these areas while including a lot of fine print in others, read it very carefully. If something feels off to you, better look for another consultant. And finally, while there are non-disabled consultants doing good work, ultimately they keep people with disabilities from getting paid jobs. And as we said before, making decisions on behalf of disabled people without involving them in the process should be the exception, not the rule. First, the good news. Today there are more accessibility consultants to choose from than ever. However, it's still challenging to pick the right one for your project. To help you with this, we added several well-known organizations and experts to the sources section of this talk, which you will find below. In addition, we recommend asking for advice in dedicated accessibility communities. One such community is the GA-Conf Discord server, where you will find both consultants as well as game developers who have worked with these experts in the past and can give you valuable advice. Just ask nicely and respectfully, and the server members will likely be happy to help you. These are some sources and links for further reading.